Welcome back to Stationeers, and here's our furnace setup we started last episode, and we're going to get on with a little bit more today. So there's a few things we actually need with this thing. Remember, just in case you didn't watch the last episode, we basically got this system set up whereby we have a sort of outgassing pipe coming out of the top of the furnace, and we have an inflow into the furnace, and it's right now it's cooling down, it's equalizing with the atmosphere. That's going to happen anyway because this thing is outside. And one of the things I said was that you may want to contain this inside blocks to actually insulate it, but that's now changed apparently according to a couple of commenters. Haven't verified myself, but I do trust the commenters. I'm sure they'll be fine. In that stuff like this, you used to be able to put your furnaces entirely inside blocks. The problem is that apparently now that acts as if it's inside some kind of atmosphere, i.e. the atmosphere out here. So that doesn't necessarily work. The idea is we want it to stop basically igniting anything else around it. If we want the furnace really hot, we don't want it to set us alight or the atmosphere alight or anything else that's nearby that's flammable. So we want to basically bring it down to a vacuum probably. Then the only kind of heat that is available, at least if they model physics properly, is radiation. And radiation, well, it still can be radiated away, of course, that's the whole point, but as evidenced by the International Space Station, which can only radiate heat away, they need huge radiators to actually transmit the heat, so it's not terribly a good form of getting rid of the heat, which means it's a good insulator. So when we finally have this running in wherever we decide to put it, probably inside there, we'll want to bring it down to a vacuum, at least while it's heated. Okay, so you might think this is finished. So let's just recap from last episode. There is a closed loop going from input to output on both of these air conditioners. This is just pressurized, so we've got a couple of active vents just inserting some atmosphere. Okay, and at that point it will just stays pressurized with some of it going in via this air conditioner, which is set to basically, let's just turn it back on just so you can see what they're set to. So this one's set to -99. That means it's trying to cool its output, sorry, that's its input, its output on the other side, by exhausting heat into its waste. And that goes into the furnace. On the output is another pipe, and this one is trying to heat. So if we turn this one on again, it's trying to heat its input into its output, and that means it needs to recover heat from its waste. So whatever you're actually doing, you're trying to continually heating up this pipe by the entire loop. That's not enough for us to get us all the way. We need to do some other changes. We need to basically guard against a few different things going wrong. First of all, whenever you put ores into this thing, or into anything really, any kind of furnace, it's going to outgas. And that means over time, the system's going to get more and more pressurized. Well, you might think, you put a back pressure regulator in or something like that. And yeah, that would work. But we also want to extract some of those gases, because we don't necessarily want all of them to go back into the furnace. We want to perhaps separate out one type of gas from another. And now I'm going to need to do a bit of fiddling around with this thing. I'm going to need to perhaps route the cables a little differently. Do we want... I guess it depends on this front. Do we want the filtering? Let's just go this way. Let me just double check on the other side of things. Put it around here. Have a look at our atmospheric building. Here we go. So we know that whatever goes out the back here is whatever we put in here. So if I put CO2 in here, and not the one in the filter we're going to set up over there, it means whatever goes out this way is going to be pure CO2, and everything else will go the other way. Right? Its input and its waste are usually connected. Okay, and pure CO2 is going to go out. So going back over here, if we want our furnace to stay pure CO2, that means for this we've got to have, probably need to move it forward a little bit. Would rather than be in a line. I guess we can put it a little bit there. Okay, so if I just print off a CO2 filter, carbon, is there no normal filter? CO2. Okay, so it's called CO2 for normal filter, but hang on, what was it actually called? Carbon? Yeah, but carbon dioxide, that had consistency. Sometimes this game hasn't got enough of it. So we'll get the filter that way. And there you go. There's our filter. So whatever we put in this side and here, we're basically going to always pull out all of the CO2 through here. Now that can go back through into the loop. But what we really want to do is we want to separate, and unlike the atmospheric building, I don't necessarily want the waste and the input to be connected together. What I want to do with this particular one is to have the input go in and the waste go out to our atmospherics unit, ideally, eventually. And then our filtered goes back to the furnace. So it's, again, another part of a closed loop. And this, I'm going to need some more pipe for. That may not be enough, but if I just bring this up. Okay, so we're going to be bringing it. I'm going to take it up and probably, I guess, in and across. In fact, let's break this half down first of all. So I'm going to try, first of all, to take it straight out of there. Okay, so this is going to be the hot out gas, remember? And right away, I'm not sure whether they, well, currently the atmospheric units don't care about temperature. So I say currently with a very straight face. And yeah, that may change. So just be warned. You may want to think about cooling this at some point in the future, but we can't. In this case, we need it to be hot. The other thing we could do, I suppose, if it's going to go out here, and then it's going to get mixed, I want to basically put it back through. 1 second. Okay, so let's give it a try. I've got it connected up over here, and it's coming in. Our waste is going to come back over here where this tank connector is. So if we just right click this, we get a portable tank. And I'm just going to quickly grab this and wrench it into place. Right about there. Okay. And then on the output, I'm bringing it around here, over and back into the same pipe it was in before. So we're just putting this in line with the output. The alternative is to try and put it in line with the input. Because of the way I've got that right now, that's just a hassle to try and rework the pipe work, so I just thought I'd leave it this way around. And let's give this a go. So if I just connect this up, we've got one heavy cable. That's not going to be enough. It just really isn't. Do I have any more? Probably not. I was probably literally out. So let me just go and rip up the floor a little bit. We don't need very many. We can just go across there. That's why I've left it in a straight piece. So let's just print out a few of those. Coil. Coil, we're only going to need about 5. Yeah, I won't take it very long to make those. And then we should be able to see here, we'll be able to see what the pressure is, which should start to increase. In fact, while it's doing that, let's just take a look at what's in the pipes right now. So, in the pipes right now, in this one we have mostly CO2. So we should be getting O2, N2, and pollutant X when this thing goes through here. On the other side, right now, it's the same ingredients. That's not a surprise, because it's connected into the same piece of pipe that was connected to this one, so they'll be the same initially. And let's see, because what I don't know is these air conditioners recover heat from their waste pipes. And I know, for instance, that this one, if there's nothing in this waste pipe because the volume pump is there, this is empty, which means it pulls some of its input into the waste pipe. And that's how we get the heat. What I don't know is what happens with the other one. So yeah, we're going to have to just double check that. And let's just grab some of this heavy cable coil. There we are. And let's grab that last piece. Not that we should need it. And there we go. Let's grab our cutters. There we go. And one more. All right, that should all be hooked up. Whoops. Give me the whole tablet, please. All right, ready to go. Let's start the waste sort of filtration. And in this pipe network, you'll see we're getting O2, N2, and X, exactly what we wanted. Right now on the other side, we should be getting a lot of CO2, but you'll see the O2, N2, and pollutant is not going down because of just the way this is all working. You'll see on this side, there is nothing on this pipe network. It's extracted everything it possibly can. So now we need to start up the system, and it's it's sunset. Hopefully I've got enough battery power. I need to put that display up somewhere higher. 97%, that's pretty good. Okay, so let's turn everything on. So we need to turn on the air conditioners. Jumping's a bit of a problem. And start them up. Okay, start, and then we also want to make sure we start up the volume pump. Okay, so this should be quite... Ooh, that's already... well, whoops. That may have already auto-combusted. Let's take a look. Okay, and we'll leave that alone. And that's actually fine, as long, you know, there is no real auto-combustion once this thing starts going. It should start increasing. It should be increasing in heat. Let's take a look. What are you on pipe network? 5 megapascals. That's fine, and it's at 5 degrees. On the other side, on this side, that is empty right now. Is that because it's not getting any throughput? Is that the input side? That is the input side. I've just knocked off the light. Need to move that. Is this started? It has started. Okay. So what is it doing with this? Is it trying to drive this temperature down? This temperature is increasing. Okay. I need to monitor this for a little while, and it does take a little while to start up properly, and I may need to pressurize some of these pipes. So let me give that a quick go. Is this one needing pressurizing? Yeah, let's just turn this on, and there you'll see it's also already being dragged straight into here, which is feeding it into here. So off it there goes. Yep, see that pipe is that pipe is empty, so it's continually going to be trying to feed its input into that pipe, and its output's going to come out of here, etc. So I need to just wait a little while, I think. So I'll bring you back in a few minutes. Okay, one change I've made is to reroute the pipework here. Now I've got the filtration system running in parallel rather than in series. Doesn't really work very well in series just because of, well, I can go into it, but just trust me on this. What we've really got here is this same pipe is going into both the input and output. So this is running in parallel, just like a parallel electronic circuit. You see it's connected there to the output here, and here to the input. So this is going to act as a passive filter. And it's going to start filtering, as you can see here, O2, N2, and X. And of course, this will go across to your atmospheric system, simulated by that nice little portable tank. And on this side, you'll see that there is still stuff there's stuff in there, but most of it is CO2. Now that CO2 is increasing largely because I'm pressurizing right now. This system needs to have enough excess gas for me to be able to bring this up to the right temperature. And to do that, I need a lot more gas in there, perhaps, than I have right now. We want this pressure to rise to something like at least a couple of MPa, and the temperature we want to rise up to, I don't know, maybe 1,000 sort of Celsius, so about 13 degrees Kelvin. So if you have a look at Celsius right now, it is increasing, but it's also increasing in pressure, so the two are related. We'll wait to actually see it until it actually gets to a certain point. So yeah, that's something we'll have to wait for, because this thing does take a lot of power. So what I'm probably going to do in the meantime, it's okay during the day. We have enough power during the day, and during the night time it drops by about 20%-ish. So maybe we've got enough battery power. Actually, that's a good point. Let's just verify that, because it is useful to verify. Do we have a network analyzer? We do. Let's just swap you out for the atmospheric analyzer, and then point at this cable, because all this is on one subnetwork, remember. So we can have a look at exactly how much these are using. And let's just turn off the UI. So you'll see the air conditioners are cycling between 5 and 300 watts. That's good. They used to use a huge amount of power. You can see the volume pump by comparison is using far more power. So I think I'm going to actually reduce that down. Whoops, I can't see because the UI's off. Let's just turn that down. Volume pump decrease. So let's bring it down to about 20. Is that still enough to evacuate the pipe? Let's see what it uses now. 20 is using 160 watts. That's far more reasonable. And what is everything else using? So as you might imagine, whoops, I'll take that off. The transformers, 120 watts. The transformer smallest, 1.5 kilowatts. That's just the amount that's actually running through it, so I think. So there's nothing excessive there. And yeah, you can see that there's still cycling. but that volume pump is perhaps the power hog. So let's just swap this back and grab you. They always are volume pumps, but just the back pressure regulator is just not going to be enough for this. Are you enough to actually evacuate this pipe? That's world. I don't want world. I want pipe. Ugh. The problem with having everything packed in like this is really hard to see. Pipe network. So you are at 93 kPa and the other side is 821 and increasing. Okay, 93 kPa. It's around about 100, and that's sort of where this air conditioner will shut down. So it's not powerful enough to evacuate that pipe yet, so it needs to be increased. Let's bring it up to 40 litres. And that really should be litres per minute if it's a pump, but I'm not going to argue too much. Okay, let's bring it up to 73. So it isn't maximum. That's okay. If it's not maxed out at 93 or 100 kPa, I don't mind so much, because it should still be bringing up this pressure, which it is, and it shouldn't be a massive power hog, which hopefully it isn't. So yeah, that's good. The temperature is falling, however, so that's a bit worrying. But that's mainly because I've got cold gas coming in pretty much at 11 degrees. I want the hot gas to basically take over from this. Yeah, you can see that's basically cold gas. Where's the cold? Where are we getting to 11 degrees from? That's at 7. This is fine because it should be doing that. It should be bringing. Let's have a look. This side is at -9. Okay, we need to stop pressurizing before I analyze this clearly. But the pressure and temperature in the furnace is actually rising, so that is good. Okay, so I'm going to now have to leave it and get us to a much higher temperature than that. I want that temperature in the furnace to be maybe, I don't know, towards 1,000 degrees C, thereabouts, so maybe 900 degrees C. That'll get us to like steel temperatures, and then we'll see what the pressure's at for that particular setup. See you in probably quite a few minutes for me, but not so many for you. Okay, bit of a flaw. Maybe you guys can solve it. Maybe I'm just being obtuse, one of those things. I set up a second air conditioner just to try a different approach. So they're both connected to the same inputs, both connected to the same outputs, so they're in parallel. And I've got the waste of this one connected just directly to the atmosphere of our passive vent. So during the day, we can, well, as you can see, if I get close to this, I get cold. There is -18 degrees. So yeah, it is basically cooling down the air around that air conditioner. However, it is then heating up the output. It's at 10 degrees, it's fine. And then the input I'm pressurizing now from the atmosphere as well. So we have some pressure in the pipes, otherwise it was being depleted. The problem I've got is this output pipe. It's directly connected into the furnace. And that causes some issues. If I go to this right now, it looks fine. It's increasing in pressure. There's a valve there, of course. And that's at 220 degrees. It gets to 350 degrees or so. And then at that point, things start to just slow down and stop. What basically happens is, if this valve is open, this air conditioner, which we want it in a closed loop anyway, to recover the heat, does recover the heat. Unfortunately, it recovers for the heat from this pipe, which is also connected to the furnace, which means it's recovering the heat, but we're not pumping in heat back fast enough. The only thing I can think of is that we want probably more than one cooling sort of things, or that we slow this down potentially so that it tries to heat things up less. I'm not quite so sure. It's one that I'm going to hand over to you because it's going to be a shorter episode just to really spark some of your ideas. The second one is just pulling heat from the atmosphere and feeding in onto this side, so this has then got the heat available. So we can heat it up to a point, and things I've tried include a volume pump here, so pump everything out of here, empty the furnace, shut it off, and the furnace will get to a sort of a low glow. It'll get to like a bluish color in here, and you can see we're already heating up to 300 degrees. That sort of stops once it gets to, 1 MPa, 2 MPa. It's still heating up a little bit, but there's no real way to tell. It could just be the increase in pressure that's causing the increase in temperature. So yeah, maybe that's not going to work. Anyway, I also tried back pressure regulator, which is just a more safety version of the whole volume pump on off thing, which is basically once it reaches, I don't know, 3 MPa or something, I can let some air out, or let's let some gas out into the area that's going to be recovered by this particular air conditioner. Otherwise, it's a bit of an issue, really. I'm not quite so sure. If we can't solve it, we have an easy way of going back to the same approach we did in Season 2. If we can't, then, yeah, there is, as I said, there is a way around. But it'd be nice to actually solve this. I have also tried a few other different configurations. I've tried basically connecting this pipe, which is the input pipe, to the output of the furnace, so these air conditioners can recover the heat, well, can basically try to heat up this pipe, but that's not really going to help too much. What else have I actually tried? Have I tried anything in parallel on this side? I don't think I've tried a second heater here. That might be another thing to go for, but this seems to be perfectly fine of heating whatever its input is, and, well, cooling whatever its input is and dumping the heat out. It's just that we have an issue. And then around here, we also get the issue where you can see right here, it's 800 kPa, and it's the same pressure as inside the furnace, but the temperature here is 600 degrees, here is 300 degrees. Not sure what's going on there either. Obviously different volumes, same pressure, different temperature, but that would imply that these things weren't actually connected to each other somehow. Is there a valve in here? Is some kind of weird valve going on that I don't know? Maybe a one-way valve or something? Yeah, I don't know. And the main problem is I can't actually connect that volume pump directly to the furnace. It won't go. It's just invalid. So you have to have a piece of pipe here anyway, and it's obviously higher temperature. So there's something weird going on with that connection. This connection, on the other hand, at the top, is perfectly fine. Well, aside from the temperature difference again. Yeah, you'd expect them to be at the same temperature if it's all connected. But you see the pressure is that, it's pretty much identical at the top. And then here, you'll see there's a difference in pressure between those 2 points. It's only about 20, but it's almost like a one-way valve. Not sure. There's no real help on the wiki as far as this is actually concerned. You'll see just about it's coming to a low glow at this point. It starts to go to a low blue color around about 320 degrees or so. So yeah, I can leave this as is. I did also put out some extra solar panels that is needed. So please don't try this until you have enough solar panels and enough battery capacity to last you through the night. And I may well actually put in some more batteries because it's the nighttime where the issue occurs. During the day, I've got more than enough. You see, we're actually charging, even with that volume pump back up to 100, so there is nothing left in this pipe, so that air conditioner will always try and pump into it rather than slowing down, or if it slows down. So it's a power hog here, and then further on we've got I've got two running at the moment, but I can turn the third one on. It's just that if I turn the third one on, it's just going to recover heat from this pipe. It's already at minus 46, so it's nowhere near quite as good as recovering from the atmosphere, which is at 19 degrees, which is going to be basically increasing the heat on this pipe, which is good. So I'm going to leave it. Maybe that is enough to solve it. If it isn't, then get back to me in the comments and we'll pick it up next episode. And if we can't solve this one together, well, I'll go back to Season 2's approach. And that is actually doable, I know it is. But we just need, again, a long time to actually do that kind of approach. Well, not a long time to build, but a long time to heat up. I need a single-size room like this with lots of wall heaters in it and a fairly large supply of gas. So we will charge up a large tank of some kind with a lot of gas and try and keep it hot. That's the main thing. Okay, so I'll leave it here because it's going to be this short episode again. I know we've got a lot of sort of rambling about this system going, but we want to try and get this up and running so that it doesn't need a separate heating room. If that's not possible, fine, that's not a problem. But in the meantime, well, I'll see how it goes. I'll see you next episode. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Well, maybe not a thumbs up with this episode. Maybe just put comments. That's probably a better way of actually saying it. Where did that battery come from? Oh, it's just a small one. Yeah, so maybe just put comments in this episode, and we'll see you next time for hopefully a completion. If not, I will rebuild it into Season 2. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.